Morning now to the amazing Ross Clark, columnist in The Sun. Great piece this morning on page 10. Ross, how are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Fine.
Whenever I see you on that machine, I always think you're sat atop a ladder because your head looks like it's literally on the ceiling. You look very high up, sir, but thank you for joining us this morning. Very kind of you. Shabana Mahmood's an interesting one, isn't she, Ross, the Home Secretary? She's I don't know, over the last couple of weeks, she seems to be speaking not reform-esque, but she's certainly more, there's more vitriol. There's a different stance and a different language from her than there has been from other Home Secretaries. And recently, which is what the article's about today, she's been looking towards how left-leaning Denmark, who have been quite firm on immigration, have been dealing with it and sort of intimating that that might be down a road that she might go. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, she's been out to Denmark apparently to study what the Danes have been doing. Now, Denmark has remarkably reduced its asylum seekers. At a time, they've been exploding in Britain and other European countries. Now, 2015, Denmark had 21,000 asylum applications. It seemed to be totally out of control. Last year, the first 8 months of this year, it's down to 2,500 asylum applications. How have they done that? Well, they take a fundamentally different attitude to asylum in Denmark. If you are granted asylum there, and it's a lot tougher there than it is here, you're not given the indefinite right to remain in Denmark. You're allowed to stay until your homeland is judged to be reasonably safe again, that you can be returned home. And as a result, we've had refugees from Syria already returned to parts of Syria where around Damascus, where it's judged to be safe. Here by contrast, we wave them in and just leave them alone then, say that you can stay indefinitely. It's also very much more difficult to bring family to Denmark if you are granted asylum. If you want to bring your spouse, for example, you both have to be over 24, and you have to have been in Denmark not claiming benefits. You have to be supporting yourself, otherwise you can't bring wife and family or husband and family. It's a very much tougher regime. And, but the remarkable thing is, it's not some mad far-right regime. It cannot be portrayed that way. Denmark is ruled by a left-leaning coalition, the Social Democrats, who are the equivalent of Labour in Britain. So they cannot be written off as some sort of far-right maniacs, as in this country.
It's really interesting for me. You used a word there, Ross, and it is a great article, by the way, by Ross on page 10 today. Reported that Denmark has no ghettos, no benefits for failed asylum seekers. And this is my favourite bit, right? Migrants who arrive with valuable possessions are expected absolutely to help pay for their stay. Under a law passed in 2016, police can confiscate jewellery, watches and other high-value items to offset the cost of housing and food. Now, you used a word, it's tough. I suspect, Ross, you'd know better than me, that when we look at a country that has apparently been tough and it's worked, it's brought down, 90% in applications in 12 months, that toughness is the very thing that this country doesn't have, because we spend so much time hamstrung by trying to be all things to all people and be fair. And the reason that I think that immigration, I'd love your take on this, is such a central issue now, is I think this has been going on a long time, but I think the nature of where we're at, in debt, unable to pay the interest on the money that we owe the IMF or the rest of the world, our creaking public services, just this woke madness. I think the British people have gone, frankly, had enough. I pay in and I get treated like an idiot. I want my government to make decisions that might appear unpopular to certain lefties, but actually will benefit me, a member of the indigenous population. I don't think that's tough. I think it's realistic, pal.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what's happening in Britain compared with Denmark. It looks as if Britain is under control of a human rights junta. There's been a coup of human rights lawyers who are now effectively totally in charge of our immigration system, and whatever government, whatever noises it makes to say we're going to reduce the boats, stop the boats or whatever, the human rights lawyers junta will stop it doing it. And that's sort of the problem we have, is that sort of any government policy at the moment is being totally undermined. Now, Denmark has a similar problem in that it does complain it's difficult for it to return criminals and terrorists who have managed to enter Denmark. They're using the same sort of arguments in Danish courts as they do here. But Denmark has joined several other countries in Europe and is really now trying to reform the European Court of Human Rights. And, I think our own government really ought to be taking a lead in this. And instead, it's sort of, I appreciate Keir Starmer's never going to withdraw from the European Court of Human Rights. He's a human rights lawyer by background. He's not going to do that, but he could at least join these other countries in pressing for very serious reform.
Somebody said
hands back policy to governments rather than.
I couldn't agree more. And just to finish, somebody said earlier, and I don't want to say it was, I can't remember who it was, it's my age, but somebody said earlier that I think it was Robert Jenrick, the very people who set up the ECHR, the Winston Churchill, 70 years ago, could not have envisaged in a million years what was going to happen. It is not fit for purpose. It is used by people to again find a loophole in the rules to get into this country. It is an absolute joke. If I was anything near anybody who was going to get into power, the lawyers need censoring and those rules need changing, because the world has moved on and we haven't. I have to tell you, it's a great article. I've been thinking about this Denmark initiative today. Ross Clark, page 10 of The Sun, how left-leaning Denmark's blitz on migrants may work for us too. Thank you, Ross, so much indeed. 23 minutes.